finally got a chance to go see Resistance, and you know, it's weird. Like before E3, didn't give a fuck.
Dude, it's the game. It's like all the focus is gonna be on that game. People are really underestimating it. It's gonna be like Halo all over again, but better.
Well,
don't you think?
I mean, I think as far as console FPS goes, maybe I'm not the person to talk to about it because I didn't think Halo was the best thing in the entire world. But if I had to choose one first-party FPS to play, I'd choose Resistance over Halo at this point.
You shut the fuck up!
Do you want me to introduce it or just not even worry about it?
No, don't worry about it.
All
I know
right.
what it is.
All right. Yeah, this guy creates games, video games, Insomniac. Big deal. He's making a big PS3 game. So you gonna show us around his studio?
Yeah, we're gonna take a tour of Insomniac.
All right, cool, awesome. Let's go.
So let's check it out. So we have about 37,000 square feet here in Burbank. A lot of folks, and we actually have the office split up into two big parts. This area right here is all about programming and more programming.
How big has the studio grown since you started working on it? Because
We actually haven't changed that much in size
Oh,
since
really?
we began Resistance. We got a lot of folks from in the QA staff because with a 40-player multiplayer game,
Yeah.
you got to have a lot of folks to help test. But everybody here during our lunches gets together on Tuesdays and Thursdays and plays.
At E3, I was pleasantly surprised by it. I mean, I know a lot of people are down on it, but I mean, I think it's just solidified my feeling after E3. Like, after seeing some of the other levels that didn't look so World War II-ish, you know, in terms of like being outside on London Bridge, and then the other place we were at, Nottingham, where it was kind of like that. You could see like the alien architecture kind of taking over the environment, the draw distance and the scope of the environment. I felt like I was like this little guy in this massive environment.
Yeah.
You don't really get that a lot in a lot of first-person shooters.
No,
at least what I've seen.
And everything else, all the normal stuff, like the graphics are good.
Yeah,
the
they're good.
textures are good. The
Yeah.
draw distance is good. You know, it runs at a good smooth frame rate. Like, I didn't have any real problems with the way it looked. You know?
Well, especially nice because most PS3 games we're seeing right now are really early. And that's definitely like the most polished
Yeah,
game
it
at
seems
this
like
point.
it was like ready to go.
I think the thing for me is that it felt, it felt really solid. It felt like they'd done their homework.
Yeah.
It's not like some FPS made by guys who don't really love the genre.
Yeah.
You know, from the weapons, every weapon has a secondary fire, and it seems like they really put a lot of care into thinking about like how it would be used in gameplay, both in terms of the single player and in the multiplayer.
you guys create some ugly fuckers. What's inspired you to create these characters? Like, what are your influences? What did you?
A lot of nightmares.
Yeah. Choose the department over there said the same thing.
Yeah, I think most of the team has had chronic nightmares, and Ratchet did not exercise those demons, so we had to generate resistance, and that was really the big inspiration for us. But seriously, for us, a lot of it is about horror movies. Anything that's particularly creepy or scary. We check out movie trailers quite a bit,
Yeah.
and we kind of look at what they're creating because they basically have 2 minutes to really sell whatever story it is for that particular scary movie, and we kind of use a lot of those concepts in what we're doing for the game, so that kind of pulled through into the character design and how we present the characters in general. So that's awesome.
And I kind of bought into the story. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's like told from a perspective of this lady who I can't remember her name right now, and she's telling Nathan Hale's story over 3 days, and why else, and now he's disappeared, and she narrates the whole thing. It was kind of like interesting. I just, I kind of buy into the whole. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just ignorant. I'm the one that buys into this whole alternate history, and it's a different way to do the genre. I mean, I'm sick of World War II games. I think the whole world is, and this is kind of different take. We also had to check out for the first time the split screen.
Oh, that's right, the co-op play.
Co-op. And Matt, you definitely had some opinions on co-op.
Your approach with the co-op in the game. What's going on there? Well, we knew we wanted co-op from the very beginning. So when we actually started designing the levels, we knew that co-op was going to be a factor. So we made sure all the spaces worked. What we're going to do is when you play co-op, there's actually going to be some enemies that would appear that you wouldn't normally see in the medium difficulty mode in normal gameplay. So essentially, we're going to put on hard. We're going to add some more enemies and jack up some of the stats. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good time.
But it's not going to be online, right?
That's correct.
So do you think if, like, say you weren't a launch game, you had 3 more months, you could put it online? Or is that just something that would be too impossible to do?
Technically, you'd have to ask a programmer. I think we're trying to do. I think we have a really good, well-rounded game there. So we have a really good, robust single player. We have excellent multiplayer, and the co-op is icing on the cake.
I wasn't. It probably came off worse than it actually was. I was just trying to kind of get them to explain, their whole reasoning for not doing online co-op and just doing it offline, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, most games haven't been able to pull off online co-op, and I mean, we'll see if Gears of War comes through in that respect. But it's tough. So I mean, I'm not surprised by it. I was just more trying to figure out whether they could explain.
And it ran fine when we were playing it. Just I don't know. For me, I don't really know how much time I'd really spend on. I'd rather play boot up multiplayer and play people online and kind of work through it.
Although I played more Halo co-op than I did Halo multiplayer first.
I mean, some part of me wishes that I understand you're not going to do online co-op, right? But I kind of wish that they decided to do system or whatever, some sort of networked co-op play. I guess if you think of co-op, split-screen co-op is kind of like a bonus on top of what is already a solid single and multiplayer package, then it's not that bad. In fact, it's quite good.
Definitely looks like a next-gen game,
Sure.
Some of the levels, especially, like I said, parts where they saw those E3 levels and were like, oh, it's just a World War II shooter. When you start to see the levels and when they've been impacted by, the alien architecture, when you start seeing, these structures kind of come out of like these normal buildings that you expect. That's when I think you'll realize this is not just, you know, a World War II game. I think if you look at 360 launch and their top shooter, which was Call of Duty 2, compared to this, I would say Resistance at this stage looks way better than Call of Duty 2. Like not even a question in terms of single player and multiplayer. Seems a lot more appealing, more original. Like I would no doubt want to play Resistance times 10.
I agree. That said, we're not looking at, you know, it's a year later, and I'm kind of glad that the new Valve stuff, that the Half-Life multi value pack is not coming out
Yeah,
this fall.
that'd be dangerous for anybody.
You know, there are other games that are coming out for the 360 during this season. This holiday
I don't
season.
see any other PS3 launch game that can rival Resistance right now.
Right, but is Resistance enough to make someone want to go out?
$600? It's
Yeah.
a $600 question. That's really, really tough.
Never before in the annals of human conflict have such forces been arrayed under a single banner. Our banner, the banner of unconditional surrender. Our goal is no less than to drive our way across Europe, liberating all in our path. We enter a world of darkness, a world consumed by the dark visions of a madman. We enter this world bearing the promise of a new dawn and the tearing down of night. We will bring an end to the days of terror, an end to the weapons of vengeance, an end to tyranny.
Sat down for EP2 and we knew we wanted a vehicle, and then it was kind of a question of what's the character of the vehicle, what's it supposed to be like, what do we want it to feel like, and so we kind of sat down and felt like, okay, this is further out, it's in the, you know, it's away from City 17, it's not something you're getting for the Resistance. We thought, well, you know, a car that kills zombies is great, and a car that's built to kill zombies is even better, so as you can see, the vehicle is really kind of pieced together. It's got a big cow catcher on the front, which is perfect for smashing into things, and there's also a little 8-track player in here.
So yeah, Josh created the system to allow non-player characters to ride in the vehicle, and then just extended that, made it fully general so that riding could be jumping on and hanging on to any part of the vehicle, and when characters are riding in the vehicle, they get the momentum from the turns and all of that stuff, and they can present that in their animation.
So if you've seen the classic thing in the action movies where the guy jumps on the hood and swinging back and forth, that's pretty much what we wanted to go for. So it's pretty cool to see.
I remember we had a bug when we were playtesting the prison in Half-Life 2. This was pretty late in development. And you know, there's that Vortigaunt in the prison that got out and was running around shooting antlines, basically. And we were like, wow, that's really cool. You know, it makes me want to run alongside him and fight antlines with him.
So he has the one attack, which is the same attack he had in Half-Life 2, which is he's able to shoot lightning bolts as you saw him in the last game. So it kind of ties it back into with HO1. It's just a lot nicer to have him on your side this time, shooting other things rather than him shooting at you. If you remember in Half-Life 2, he was able to give you health in a certain area. He was able to charge your suit, and that was in the beginning of the game. So we're like, well, that's a great thing to have walking around with you because Alex doesn't heal you. You always have to find health packs. So the Vort's able to actually, at any time during combat, bail you out by hitting you with armor recharges and kind of bringing your health back up.
That one shall trouble us no more.
But it's kind of cool in a way because we can throw more enemies and put you in different situations that you wouldn't have been able to handle before, and now you can. And that just makes you so much happier to have your ally with you.
In episode 2, where we're pushing out of the familiar confines of Half-Life 2, out of City 17, we've been outside of the city before, but we're seeing, heading north, we're seeing some environments we've never seen before.
We wanted to create these fun combat arenas that were fairly non-linear and open-ended in terms of how the player attacked them, and that led to, this forest setting.
New characters can be out there, new kinds of events that we might not have been able to pull off before are possible.
This is a section of the White Forest, and you can see the Combine are kind of pulling out of City 17 after the Citadel blew up at the end of Episode 1. And the player is traveling through this countryside trying to get to a missile silo that's in the White Forest, you don't know where, to rendezvous with Resistance scientists that are working on a super important project up there. And you're kind of racing the Combine forces there. We model a few dozen trees, and then we replicate those all over the map in slightly different orientations and positions, and you get the overall effect of a really nice forest. And as you can see, we're building sort of bigger, grander outdoor environments than we did in Half-Life 2, and we hope that kind of gives the episode a more epic feel.
The big things that we wanted to do with the Hunter is make something that really had a much more kind of dramatic read in terms of performance, but also a much more versatile alien synthetic creature that could be a threat outdoors when you're driving the car, but also follow you inside and, be versatile like the Combine soldiers were inside of HL2. I started just fooling around with some concept design, like some concept sketches here. It's usually how I start off, just doing quick little ink thumbnail sketches. And eventually this kind of form evolved. It has more of an interesting leg shape than, say, the Big Strider because it has a dog leg in it and it gives you more kind of a graphic silhouette read when you're looking at it.
I think one of the citizens got that one.
This guy's quite a death dealer.
Yeah. Oh,
Nice.
that's probably good. Yeah, the hunters are.
a beating.
The hunters are somewhat susceptible to physics damage, but they are pretty tough. They do take a beating, so usually it takes a while to bring one down.
Just behave yourself, please. Just let me get him. Yes. Jesus. Very good.
And just to be clear, Pumpkin's not gonna be in the final game.
Pumpkins are not going to be. Well, the pumpkin itself will be in the final game, but the Strider Buster will not look like a pumpkin.
Our cause seems hopeless.
We should never have let her go. to look at the action.
Every year, DigiPen holds an expo where they bring in game developers to take a look at student projects. And a couple people from Valve came by and saw an Narbacular drop and brought us in to show the game to Gabe Newell. And he apparently must have really liked it because he hired us on the spot. So.
Yeah, a lot of what made the idea is actually not coming up with a lot of ideas, but stripping ideas away and simplifying it to the point where we have a very core concept. So, I mean, a lot of the ideas we had with Portals were very complex and had, weapons and entire cities full of, things that you had to chase down or whatever. And we're like, well, let's cut out, all that and just leave the portals and see what we have.
And you mentioned before that you're working on a multiplayer mode right now?
Yeah, it's something that we're planning on coming out with next. Right now, Portal is only slated to be released as single player mode, but we definitely are working on it.
I mean, I'm just kind of wondering, how would you do that? I mean, would it be like a cooperative puzzle solving thing, or would you turn it into a competitive, beat the puzzle before someone else? Or?
Well, I mean, we have a bunch of ideas, but we haven't figured out exactly which one we're going to go with yet.
Okay. I want to see seeing that incorporated into Half-Life. It's into the main series would be pretty cool too. I mean, you think that might be going in that direction, or?
Well, I mean, it depends on several factors. One of which is player feedback. Whether or not people want a Portal 2 or if they want to see it integrated into the other Half-Life single-player games. And another thing too is we have several factors right now, like the AI, for instance. It doesn't quite understand how to navigate through portals. Putting it in the Half-Life 2 universe gives us a whole range of story things that we can use. I think the environments lend themselves more to figuring out how to complete each challenge. With being a simplified test chamber kind of environment, I think really lends itself to the gameplay.
So is it set in the Half-Life universe?
Yes.
In ways that the chronology will actually overlap with existing.
I can't really say just yet.
The story?
Yeah. It will actually sync up with other things, but we can't say right now how it's going to do that. Well, the character that you're using is, or going to be playing as, is a new character in the Half-Life universe that will, the origins of this character will be clear eventually.
As part of a previously mentioned required test protocol, we can no longer lie to you. When the testing is over, you will be missed.
Portal's one of those sort of parallel evolution games that it's converged on where we're at in some ways. So even though those guys, for me personally, they came out of left field, as it moved closer and closer to our universe, it became sort of a fun challenge to see. Oh, they fill some gaps that we've had. We're like, oh, that'll fit in perfectly in this place, so I didn't know what we were going to put there. And often it's as if the thing you've been building has just been getting ready for this other thing to arrive. So that's kind of how I feel about Portal. Is it solves some problems for us going forward, and it raises its own unique set of challenges. But it's pretty fun stuff to think about from just the story point of view.
multiplayer games are sort of, in some cases, inherently humorous. If you put 20 people in a room together and give them all guns and tell them to be really serious, it doesn't really work out. No matter how serious a multiplayer game wants to be, you've all seen those crazy moments that make you laugh a lot. And TF is a lot more about, and the art direction and so on, is a lot more about taking hold of that and running with it instead of trying to fight it. So a lot of those sort of crazy things like throwing down a pipe bomb and jumping off it to blow yourself into the air to get somewhere is absolutely a core of it. TF's about making sure that no matter what your skill set is, you're incredibly valuable to your team because you fulfill a role that no one else can fulfill. And the places where TF breaks down in the past were in places where roles were fulfillable by multiple classes, not in such a clean fashion. I think there's more of we've done some work to ensure that sort of exaggeration and uniqueness between the classes is a little more powerful, I think. As a general rule, instead of saying, well, we need to make sure that, everything that you could do the way you used to do it, has to stay alive, we're instead saying, well, if we built this game today, what would we do here? What's the right thing to do for this class? If we take advantage of physics, and what does the demo man in the physics world look like, and run with it? And what we usually find is we get a bunch of new, cool, much more exciting behaviors that fall out of that sort of greater technology. And that's part of the fun. So we're definitely running with that stuff. Actually, like all of our products, really, TF2 is an ongoing thing. We're going to keep building on it. The day we ship, we're not done with it by any means. And so we definitely have some ideas for other classes that we want that came out of some of the earlier versions that have sort of some new play styles. As we say, we sort of define our classes in terms of play style. Like, I want to play like this. Which class do I choose? And we found through playtesting other styles of gameplay that players still don't really have the opportunity to have in any multiplayer game out there. So we'd like to keep pushing further on that, and that'll probably include adding new classes for that. We're not going to ship it until we think it's worthy, until we're sure it's what our customers expect from it. And if it's taken us a while to do that, then so be it. That's just the way it should be. We'd far prefer to do that than to ship something we think is substandard or isn't what our customers expect of us.
What?
Jen, I need you to commiserate with me. Something terrible has happened.
Commiserate? What happened?
Tingle.
What?
He has a game.
Ew.
And it's here, and I have to write about it.
Oh.
I don't know if I can handle it.
Oh no. Oh. I saw this on the internet. You've been importing a lot of games lately, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah, didn't I see you actually playing, like Final Fantasy III in the original Japanese?
Yes, because I'm crazy like that. So what did you think about this game that you didn't understand?
I didn't realize the DS was capable of just displaying something like that. And I was also initially very startled by the polygon appearance, but
In what sense? Because it's polygons or because it's beautiful polygons?
Both. I didn't like it at the very opening because it's so close on the polygons and everything's terrible looking
the close-up
close-up.
scenes, they're kind of not so good.
But no, yeah.
But when you're playing,
as the game is in motion, it's unbelievable. It looks beautiful, and I love how the backgrounds scroll and work a little bit to catch up with your movement, and I was really impressed.
Kind of reminds me of the feel of it, the graphical feel at least, reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy IX, which, you know, was trying to be a classic Final Fantasy game, but this actually is a classic Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
And it's got, you know, like 4 little characters lined up and they
Right.
take turns making attacks.
Right.
And it's very simple, but I think it translates really well to the portable system.
Right.
But if you're familiar with Final Fantasy V or Tactics,
Okay.
they have the job system, and 3 is where that actually came from.
Okay.
But the job system in 3 is actually very simplistic, and the director of the game, when I talked to him at E3, said that they were improving it and they were rebalancing it and adding new abilities and stuff to the job classes.
Right.
But I don't really find that to be the case so much. They've kind of rebalanced how the classes work in relation to each other. But if you're expecting something where you can develop lots of different skills with each class and then transfer those into other classes,
Right.
that doesn't work. So each class is kind of self-contained, and you can't just choose freely between classes. You can't jump back and forth because
Right.
every time you switch classes, there's something called crystal sickness.
Okay.
And you have to battle through, like, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 8 battles before your character is comfortable with that class and actually gets to enjoy the stat benefits.
One thing that I'm really curious about, Jeremy, is what you're intimately familiar with the original Final Fantasy III. So have you picked it up at all in order to just compare and contrast the two?
Well, I played through the first dungeon and a little bit after in the original Famicom game, and from what I've seen, the recreation, you know, in polygons is really faithful.
You think so?
The caverns are laid out exactly the same. The switches are in the same places.
Cool.
The general plot is the same, but there's actually a lot more story added to the beginning of the game, especially. I think it's aged pretty well for the most part.
Really?
There are some parts that I would probably like to see improve.
Yeah.
Based on what I've seen so far. One thing I would really like is some save points in the dungeons.
Okay.
Because you start a dungeon and you can't save until after you've finished the dungeon and defeated the boss.
Right.
And there was one point where I was actually not expecting to go into a dungeon. I went into a town and I was taken into a dungeon and had to fight all the way through and fight the boss before I could save. And it was pretty touch and go for a while.
That's horrifying. I mean, you have to switch out DS cards and go play Cooking Mama. That's horrifying. I'm sorry, that's all there is.
Is that your solution to everything? Play Cooking Mama?
Go play Cooking Mama. Are you having a tough day? You gotta review Tingle. It might rule.
But nice try.
Sorry.
All right, well, my hands are all tingle.
Dying
all
of
tingled.
embarrassment. I'm dying of embarrassment right now. The game is just embarrassing me. You make me, no, get it out. Get it out. You know
Okay,
what? You're
okay.
banished.
Thanks for sharing in
Don't.
my suffering.
No, I won't.
Oh, Control S. We are set. Broke the headphones. Are done. Ryan, Rob, get up, guys. We are done. One of show is complete. At the cost of my headphones, 4:15 in the morning. We are complete.
God, I'm glad we're done. Whew, that is a wrap for season 3 then, as soon as we get this thing compiled.
Summer season is over.
I'll miss the theme song.
I will miss the theme song.
Well, at least we get a little break.
Yeah, like a 4-day break.
Oh yeah, the Wii event's on Wednesday, huh?
Yeah, it's the 14th.
And we're making a whole show special out there.
Straight from New York.
On the road, nice.
And then TGS right afterwards.
Oh, 2 days afterwards. Holy shit. And then 4 days afterwards we do Barcelona X06 special.
Yep. This is going to be a nice weekend.
I'm going to go sleep under my desk.
All right, let's finish this up. Good work, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Hallelujah.